A steel beam leaves a furnace in Pittsburgh. 80 hours later, it is bolted into the frame of a skyscraper rising above midtown Manhattan, without stopping at a storage yard. If the sequence breaks, if one delivery is late, one derrick fails, one rivet gang falls behind, the entire system stalls. On a site with no room to store materials and no margin for recovery, a single disruption cascades through every trade above it. This is how the world's tallest building was constructed, not by brute force, by a system so precisely engineered it remained extraordinary. William Starrett had built at a scale most contractors never encounter. During the First World War, he oversaw all US Army construction for the War Industrial Board and brought that military logistics discipline to Manhattan with Starrett Brothers and Eken. When Empire State Inc. commissioned the job in late 1929, the brief was simple and impossible. A 102-story building ready for tenants by May 1st, 1931, including demolishing the Waldorf Astoria Hotel occupying the site. The pressure behind the deadline was financial. New York City lease law set May 1st and October 1st as the annual start dates for commercial tenancies. Miss May 1st, and the building sits empty for another 6 months. In the middle of the Great Depression, with the stock market having collapsed weeks after the project was announced, that was not an option. Starrett's answer had no precedent. Design and construction running simultaneously, steel ordered 2 floors at a time, every trade stacked so tightly behind the next that the frame rose faster than any building before or since. But what that pace demanded of the men doing the work was a different question. Demolition of the Waldorf Astoria began October 1st, 1929. Starrett Brothers did not wait for it to finish. Foundation excavation started January 22nd, 1930. 2 shifts of 300 men, 12 hours a day, digging 55 feet into Manhattan bedrock while demolition was still underway. The first steel column was set March 17th, 1930, before the last foundation footings were complete. Each phase began before the previous one finished. That overlap eliminated every gap conventional construction treated as unavoidable. There was no buffer, no margin. The steel supply chain ran on logic closer to a factory than a building site. Each member was fabricated in Pennsylvania, marked with codes identifying its exact position in the structure and the derrick that would lift it. It moved by rail to New Jersey, by barge to an East River pier, by truck to Fifth Avenue. There was no storage space on site. Steel arrived just in time, ordered 2 floors at a time 1 week before installation. If a barge ran late, the derricks had nothing to lift. 3,000 men stopped. Every idle hour accumulated without ceiling. The connection tolerance was less than 3 millimeters. Every beam, every column joined at that precision, or the structure above could not be plumb. Then came the riveting. The heater ignites the forge. A rivet, a steel pin the size of a man's fist, is brought to yellow hot, seized with tongs, thrown 20 feet across the open floor. The catcher takes it in a metal bucket without looking up, inserted, held, driven flat with a pneumatic hammer. Permanent. 38 gangs working simultaneously. 5 men per gang. The sound carries down to Fifth Avenue, a continuous percussion. At peak production, the frame climbed 4.5 stories every week. In July 1930, 22 floors of steel were erected in 22 working days. Steel was only the frame. The Starrett system ran every other trade directly behind it, not after the structure was complete, but while it was rising. A miniature railway moved materials through the basement to the hoists. On each completed floor, additional tracks distributed supplies, partition tiles, cement, marble panels, plumbing. On any given day, trucks delivered 16,000 partition tiles and 5,000 bags of cement to the site. Everything timed to the floor above, which was timed to the floor above that. The building was not constructed level by level. It was constructed on dozens of levels simultaneously. Mobile canteens moved upward as the building rose. Going to the street for lunch cost too much time. By September 1930, 6 months after the first column was set, the Empire State Building had already surpassed the Chrysler Building as the tallest structure in the world. But those men still had more than 40 floors to build above them. in winter, without safety harnesses, on beams no wider than a foot, where the wind made standing still a deliberate act. 5 workers died during construction. Given the pace, the conditions, and the era, that number, confirmed by official records, is the one that surprises nearly everyone who learns how the work was done. The workers who built the Empire State Building were known as Sky Boys, many of them Irish and Italian immigrants for whom $15 a day was unattainable elsewhere in the Depression. A significant number were Mohawk ironworkers from the Kahnawake Reserve near Montreal, men with a generational tradition of high steel work and a composure on open beams others found difficult to explain. What separated the experienced ironworker from the novice was the management of attention. 1,000 feet above the street, the body's instinct is to look down, keeping focus on the beam being guided, the rivet being driven. That discipline could not be faked. Welders faced a different accumulation: arc light damaging their eyes, sparks scarring skin, metal fumes in the lungs. The steady cost of 13 months at height. The Empire State Building broke ground 3 months after the 1929 Wall Street crash. It opened in May 1931 75% empty and would not turn a profit until 1950. It was called the Empty State Building. What it demonstrated had nothing to do with its rental ledger. A 102-story structure raised in 13 months by immigrant labourers, coordinated by planning sheets posted each morning, using nothing more advanced than a pneumatic hammer and a miniature railway. Not excess. A different kind of precision, one that modern construction, for all its technology, has not matched. The methods that built the Empire State Building did not survive unchanged. The riveted frame gave way to welding and then to high-strength bolted steel. Derrick systems became tower cranes. The Empire State Building remains one of the fastest completed skyscrapers of its scale in history. Modern towers of comparable scale take 2 to 3 years. The Empire State Building took 13 months, not through better technology, but through logistics so tight that no redundancy existed anywhere in the chain. These systems built the modern world, floor by floor, rivet by rivet, in conditions most of us will never work in. If you'd like to see more of them documented, consider subscribing. And tell us, which forgotten system should we uncover next?